Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
Hey, we recorded this episode a while back, and I just felt like it wasn't the right tone to just come in and act like there was nothing else going on in the world. There's also a lot going on in my world right now, too. I guess I should tell them that. I don't know. My dad's getting tested for COVID this morning. My grandma also fell over the weekend and is in the hospital and needs surgery. So my mind has been about a million different places.
Yeah, a lot of scary stuff right now.
Yeah, I'm like trying not to cry, but I think I'm just going to. That's not even what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about, just for a minute, because I don't think you and I are the experts on this, but I just wanted to acknowledge, because you and I have so many, I think part of the privilege of being a coach is that you get to work with people from a million different backgrounds. There is not a single type of person I haven't coached, I don't think.
No.
I think
in
we can
8
check
years,
every box that you can possibly check, like every box. And so, you and I have this thing that we say over and over and over again, which is that we think our job is to help people turn in the direction of where the current is flowing for them. That like when you are trying so hard to swim against the current in your life, you're not going to get good results. And it's going to be hard, and it's going to be unnecessarily hard. And that no matter what we're talking about, that going, with how you're wired and with the kind of the current is the way. Except I think what doesn't get talked about often enough is that there are currents that you can't control that people are swimming against. And depending on your level of privilege or not, you have more or less current that you're swimming against. And you and I have coached a lot of people who have more of a current that they're trying to swim against, or that they're trying to kind of,
societally or culturally, there's a lot more for them to swim up against than others. And
it makes it harder for them to turn around.
It's true.
Yeah, it makes it harder for them to turn around and go with what they might prefer to do, or how they're wired. And so it just feels like I can't say that that's my goal and not contribute to that effort on, a deeper level. And so, there's been a lot of very necessary conversation and action over the past few days about, how Black people are treated in America. And I'm not an expert on that. And I've seen a lot of stuff happening on Instagram that has pissed me off, in that I think there's a lot of like liberal white people who are doing a very good job of like performatively posting something on Instagram and then not doing anything. And that really, really bothers me. I don't like when people just talk and they don't take action. And so I just want to say more to the people who are like you and me, because I think those are the people who I have the kind of authority to talk to, that I understand that sometimes you see big injustice of any kind, and you're like, I don't know what to do about that. I'm just one person. And how can I help? I want to help, but I don't know how. And I don't have all of the answers. And I think it's going to be imperative upon you and I already have some ideas about this, about like, you got to bring some people on who can talk, and educate in a way that you and I can't. But what I will say is that I've been thinking pretty long and hard over the past few days about where I can actually make a difference. And I think that making a difference in any way kind of has to start with your small sphere of influence. That you might not be able to shift like global tides. That's not necessarily your job, but you can contribute to a global shift by looking at your sphere of influence and figuring out like, where can I get uncomfortable? And I think that's the question, is like, what can I do that is maybe uncomfortable and that scares me, but that because I have a certain amount of privilege or influence, that I have the ability and therefore sort of the duty to speak up when other people might not be able to. And so I've identified some of those places in my life where I think that's totally possible, and where I'm going to put my mouth where my money is, put my money where my mouth is. I'm tired.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes those big systematic changes feel systemic. Yes, thank you. I'm also tired. They just feel so big and overwhelming, and each of us just feels like one person, that it's easy to just say, I don't know what to do, and then move on. And I think the question to ask yourself is, even if it doesn't feel like nearly enough, what can I do? And I think you're right. I think a lot of this is we just need more diverse perspectives in the spotlight. And Rachel and I don't have a huge influence, but we're going to use what we've got.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, to help that.
Yeah. Part of my issue this past week has been seeing people posting things and, almost like they feel like it's obligatory because they feel like, oh, people won't keep buying stuff from me if I don't say something. And that just makes my blood boil, that I feel like they feel like they have to comment, like everyone is a pundit. I don't think everyone needs to be a pundit. And I think sometimes it's better to shut up and say nothing. But I also think that if you have any sort of sphere of influence, it's your job to use your voice to make it easier for other people who might be swimming against the current. And you want to know what? There's not really an excuse that I can give for not having done that earlier. Like, full stop.
Yeah.
That's part of, like, that is part of what it means to be someone who has had privilege, is that you don't have to get uncomfortable. Like, it doesn't even occur to you necessarily to get uncomfortable. You've benefited from a system where it doesn't occur to you.
You don't have to fight against the current because you don't have as much of a current to fight against.
No, and I don't always like drawing the analogy, but I think sometimes it can be helpful, especially for those people who are kind of struggling to contextualize. I think that often as women, we understand, kind of the privilege that men have that we don't. I mean, I used to live with my brother years ago, and he would go out running at 9:00 at night. There is no way on earth I could have done that if I wanted to. But he would just do that. And it never even it would never have occurred to him that I couldn't do that. And I just, there's a million places in my life where it doesn't even occur to me that I can do things that the other people can't do. And so I think it's imperative that, the way that I would hope that my brother would start to think about the things that I can't do, that he can do, that I start to think about the things that other people can't do because of the color of their skin, or, especially the color of their skin, but really their gender identity
or background change it. Yeah.
That I can do that they can't do. And so I've been thinking about that a lot. And I've been thinking about how to use kind of my privilege and my platform, not just this platform, but really in a lot of different areas of my life, to kind of help turn the tide in small, but I think consequential ways. And I think that's the point, is that
it doesn't have to small,
but it has to be consequential. It all adds up. And I just think that if other people are living in discomfort all the time in ways that you can't understand, because that's just never going to be one of the reasons that your life is hard, then, you owe it to yourself and them and these people that you care about, to get as equally uncomfortable as they have to be, at least on a daily basis, in the name of making it easier or better for those people. And so that's something that I am definitely going to be doing. And I don't even feel the need to go into what I'm going to be doing, because also I'm like, I don't need praise or cookies from people. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. This is about me trying to kind of plant some seeds with people who I feel like can relate to me and you, and say that I think that there are areas where your voice would make a difference, and that you asking for something, or you speaking up for someone, or you saying, hey, I don't think that's right, is going to make a big difference, even if it feels small.
In our country as a whole right now, I mean, it always has been, but especially at this moment, is really asking us to consider, how much longer can we put up with this violence, right? I mean, this is not something that any of us should be comfortable with or should just let slide. I mean, we need to be really taking a look inward and say, what small thing can I contribute to make this a society that all people feel comfortable and safe in?
And it doesn't have to stop with small. It just has to start with small. I think that's the problem.
If we try to start too big, we won't start.
That's the problem. I think that's why a lot of people haven't. And so, I mean, maybe who am I to give people permission to start small? But I feel like, again, if you don't start small, we won't start at all. And so I think that if you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not growing.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the definition of growth, is that it forces you to be uncomfortable. And so I think that for those of us who are not used to having to be uncomfortable around certain things, it would be a really good thing for you to do to make yourself uncomfortable, because it's going to help. It's going to help a lot of people grow, and it's going to help you grow too. So anyway, again, we're not experts, but I feel like it's just anything that affects people's ability to become a better version of themselves is my wheelhouse. And this would be a pretty glaring thing to not talk about, because it affects people's ability to become the best version of themselves, and they can't control it. Yeah. So anyway, I am looking forward to, I've got a list of people I want to reach out to. I want to have, not like conversations directly and indirectly.
Recorded and not recorded.
Recorded, not recorded. Right. I have a list of things that I want to do. And so I'm going to go do them. I told Kristen last night that I believe that my purpose on earth is to make people uncomfortable by telling the truth. And I think that I've done that pretty well so far. And I think it's time to take it up a notch.
Well, I feel like my purpose is to give people permission to be who they are. And I think some people might be trying to give themselves permission, but we need life in general to give them permission. We need societies and systems to give them permission. So I feel like I'd be out of integrity to not address that part too.
Yeah, right. I agree. And I think a lot of us are inadvertently out of integrity right now.
Yeah.
We don't want to be. It's not intentional, but we are. And so I think it's, you got to make yourself uncomfortable, because I think you owe it to people that you care about to be uncomfortable if they're uncomfortable, and to not look away. So, right. What did Glennon say? That looking away, that looking directly at something is how you change it. That, that if you're highly sensitive and if it affects you and you don't want to see it, that you're not being called to look elsewhere. You're being called to look closer.
Directly into the thing.
The thing. So anyway, I wanted to say all of that before we jumped into the episode, because I didn't want you to be tonally whiplashed by the fact that we started all of this, a week or two. I don't know how long ago it was, but it was way before anything like this was happening. So we will drop you into the episode
where it originally started.
That's where it originally started. And then we'll follow up on this. Okay?
Yeah, this is not a one-time thing.
Oh, okay. Well, enjoy this episode. A little bit of Dear Krachel for you, and we will see you later. Hello. Welcome to another Dear Krachel, another rousing round.
Welcome to summer as well. We're in June.
It's not quite summer yet.
Well, it feels like after Memorial Day it's summer.
I know. It's American
unofficial.
Summer. So, okay. I've got a big announcements. So hold on to your butts. Number one, today's the last day of our Clarity on Fire, time of pandemic stuff. I'm going to come back to that. I also want to point out, for those of you who are tempted to fast forward, I'm going to say this now, and then you can fast forward if you want. That one-on-one coaching enrollment is coming back on, I think it's 2 weeks from now, on the 19th. So it is 2 weeks from now on the 19th. I was doing the mental calculations in my mind. So I know you're like, didn't you just do that? Yeah, that was 3 months ago. We've been in a quarantine this whole time. Pretty much.
I feel like, to me, it feels like ages ago.
Yeah. So
much has happened.
I just wanted to plant the seed that we are going to be opening coaching enrollment again in 2 weeks, and that the enrollment period will be about 10 days. It'll end on the last day of June 30th. And I am just thinking, if you want to do coaching, you should think about it now and you should look into it now and you should go check out like what your options are, because last time we did it was more popular than I thought it was going to be during a pandemic, during quarantine.
I guess in some ways that makes sense.
And based on how busy you and I are right now and how we're feeling schedule-wise, I think it's going to fill up in terms of what I have capacity for.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like 15 people. That's kind of it. That's probably around how many people we're going to take.
And it is first come, first serve.
Yes. Though I will say this. I'm gonna plant this seed this time because I'm a big girl and I think that this is a good business move too. Transparency. I think that if you want to do more coaching, I'll prioritize that. Mm-hmm. If you're like, hey, I want to do 5 months, not 2 months, I might give you the time of day a little bit sooner. And hey, that's not to say that I won't talk to you if you're interested in doing 2 months. I'm just saying, like, if you want to work with us for longer, that's just more, that's more stability for me and Kristen during a weird ass time. So,
and it's our preferred way of getting started with people because it's the full life cycle of the process.
It really is. Yeah. 2 months is really only half of a traditional coaching cycle. So anyway, we will get into this more, but I wanted to plant that seed for those of you who are thinking about it. This is going to be your time. We won't be doing this again until the fall. I'm thinking October. It'll be longer between this time and the next time we do it than it was between March and June.
We've had a lot going on the first half of the year. We've got more coming. So
of course, also, this is the part that if you're not interested, please feel free to skip over.
And for all of our loyal podcast listeners, this is the last time you have to hear us talk about this forever.
And then we'll talk about coaching enrollment again. We'll always be promoting ourselves because there are no ads on this podcast. I am my own damn ads.
Well, and we are a business in addition to a podcast.
Yes.
Okay, so today, Friday, June 5th, is the last day that you can get our Passion Profile short course for 50% off. This was our way for the last couple of months of saying, hey, we know that life is weird and you might need a little extra support. So we're literally giving you half off this course, which we have never done before. I don't imagine, unless we have another pandemic, we're going to do it again.
I mean, I'm not sure it's financially viable, even if we have another pandemic, to do it again.
Right.
So I'm like, no, too bad, so sad. The price is going up tomorrow. This is your last day. So if you're new to Clarity on Fire, if you like the idea of taking a short, truly, you can sit down and do it in a day. I'm not saying it's not going to be a long day. But you can take breaks. You can have snacks. It's about 5 to 6 hours of content.
You're allowed to have snacks.
Well, I'm just saying you can eat. You can eat while listening. I would prefer it.
Please.
So I want you to consider, if you're new to Clarity on Fire, this would be a great place to start because it helps you take that passion profile quiz result that you got and probably really liked and use it to chart your career direction. Where am I going? What kind of job should I be considering? What kind of stuff should I eliminate from my options, and then maybe start making a plan about what you're going to do and where you're going to go.
Yes. And we also just added a new bonus to this course.
It's actually an old bonus, but it's new to this course.
Yeah, it's new to this course. It's really relevant to this course, so I think it makes sense for us to add it in here.
Totally relevant. The Dream Job Bundle.
Yeah, the Dream Job Bundle is all about once you get some career direction and you have a little bit of a trajectory and you know more of what you're looking for, this is going to support you in how do I get it? How do I actually interview? How do I create the right cover letters and resumes? And what are the next steps for getting the job that I want?
This is about you standing out and popping off the page in an authentic way so that people want to hire you.
Exactly. So that's no added cost or anything. That's just added in and you can get it as part of the half off right now.
Just right there, sitting there waiting for you.
Just waiting. The other thing that this is the last day of, maybe the last time we do this, I don't know.
Maybe truly ever.
is we're offering single coaching sessions for $150, which is cheaper than we give it to our previous clients. In fact, many previous clients keep coming back and they're like, wait, can I get that price? Yes, you can.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not saying if you sign up today, the last day, we're going to be able to talk to you immediately.
No, you might have to wait a little bit.
But you can sign up and get it for this price, and then we'll let you know what our availability looks like.
Or remember, you can bundle those two things. You can sign up for the short course, and then when you're at the checkout page, you can add a single session to the cart, and then you save another $50, which is truly insane, which is why it's ending today.
Yeah, it had to end.
It had to end. So just, you can go to the show notes. You can check it out.
You can go to clarityonfire.com/pandemic.
Yep. And of course, if you're listening to this and it's long after pandemic, what's that like?
I know.
Is the world better? But also, you can always just, if you're still interested in the short course, that will always be there. Just go to clarityonfire.com. You can go to work with us. You'll see the short courses there. And unfortunately, you won't be able to bundle with a single session. There will be no more single sessions. But the short course is always available. It's just not usually available at half off.
Correct. And the Dream Job Bundle will still be part of it from here on out.
Yes. And that's maybe a good reminder for people who did this a year ago and want to go back and check that out. Log in. If you can't log in, email us.
Contact at clarityonfire.com. I got you.
Okay, so I decided only to pick 2 questions today because I knew that we were going to spend a little bit of time at the beginning reminding people about the big stuff going on. So I didn't want to, I didn't want to rush us answering questions. So I picked 2 good ones to get into today.
We do have 2 good ones. The first one is from a fellow Rachel.
Yeah.
She says, "Hi, girls. Sorry, Rachel, but I'm hijacking Rachel Rants for a second. I applied for a job that's adjacent to my field of expertise. It's using the knowledge I have, but in a different way. I did everything people say you should do, i.e. writing down that the job is mine 10 times a day, imagining myself in that role, speaking about the job like it's already mine, etc. I was actually really confident that I was finally going to get a stable, good-paying job that allowed me to use my skills in a new way. But no, I wasn't even shortlisted for an interview. I have 3 times the education that's required. 12 years of experience working on the front line of what they're wanting a coordinator for. I've written research papers, coordinated the shit out of people in high-stakes situations, and know more about the industry than pretty much everyone they already have working for them. So why was I thrown to the curb again? I'm tired of not even getting a look when I apply for jobs that aren't the exact same as what I've been doing for 12 years. I'm bored and I want a new challenge, but people are just being rude doofuses." I love this Rachel Rants. "How do I break this cycle?" End rant. Mike, back to you, actual other Rachel.
I'll take it back. Thank you, other Rachel. Okay. Here's the thing. Rachel, I love you.
Rachel to Rachel.
I do love you, and I know that you're ranting, and I know you're probably a little bit tongue-in-cheek ranting, but I know that you're probably a little bit angry too. So what I'm going to say might make you more angry, but you asked. So if your mentality going into something is everyone is a rude doofus, energetically, they're going to pick up on that.
I don't know if that was it going in, but that was certainly
but that's what it's turned into.
Afterward.
So I'm actually going to link to a couple episodes. I want to tell you now, and to anyone who feels like this is relevant, we actually answered a similar question from someone who went by the name Multi-Trick Pony 2 months ago, back in April. So check out our Dear Krachel from April, because she was having a very similar problem about no one was hiring her, and she couldn't figure out why no one would take a chance on her. She couldn't get out of the niche that she was in, and she wanted to break into a new industry, and no one was letting her, quote unquote. Then a year ago, in June 2019, we answered a question very similar to what we're going to get into right now, which is about, you know what? You might be super too attached to the outcome. Your energy is messing up your chances because you are grasping very tightly and you just can't get what you want when you're insistent that you have to have it.
Okay, I want to add a nuance to that, because I don't necessarily think attachment to the outcome in general is the problem here.
Nope.
Wanting a good, stable job that pays well, that's a new challenge, that's a great outcome. And it's okay to be attached to that outcome. What I think is the issue here is you, Rachel, seemed like you were dead set on this job that I applied for, where I have all this experience and I have more experience than anyone else in the company, and why would they not want me? That's you trying to manipulate the exact circumstances of the outcome. Like, I need it to be not just a stable job that I'm challenged by, that's interesting, that pays well. It has to be that one.
Yeah.
And that's where things get a little bit wonky.
Yes. Sure. That's true. That's like saying, I want to get married. Great. To a nice person. Wonderful.
Sure.
Who I'm attracted to. Great. We go a little off the deep end when we're like, but he has to be like 6'3".
Or it has to be that person.
Or
like
that
guy at work that I've seen a few times and he seems hot and nice.
I like him. I don't know why he won't marry me.
Right. That's what this is kind of equivalent to.
A little bit. Okay. So there's that. You have to trust. You have to be able to release that death grip you've got on this situation enough to acknowledge that timing is a thing. And that you don't necessarily know that just because you haven't gotten a job, that the universe hasn't actually been doing you a solid. Because maybe the culture was toxic. Maybe you were going to hate your boss. I am totally empathetic with the fact that you are frustrated and you are like, why will no one give me a chance?
Well, it is annoying too when you see, I know I'm qualified. I know I can do this job. And it doesn't seem like somebody else is recognizing that. I get that. I would do a little rant on that too.
So, but here's the problem. The energy that you have churned up is not going to be the energy that gets you a job. The frustration, the anger, the resentment, the like, I am better than this energy. Like, I know you are better than this, but this energy is not what's going to get you a job because it sours the experience. Just trust me. Does this work? Again, you know, like this is my only trick. I am a one-trick pony. I'm not a multi-trick pony. And my one trick is relating jobs back to relationships. So have you ever known someone to end up in a really happy, healthy relationship when they were angry and resentful that they were single and they were like demanding that a man date them? No, that doesn't
Even if
happen.
you know you're very dateable and you're a great catch, you can know that. And if you're like, you better recognize that I'm a great catch.
Why will none of these rude doofuses date me? Well, maybe because no one really wants to date someone who thinks they're a rude doofus. I mean, just a theory. So, okay.
Well, another thing I want to throw out here, which we've talked about before, but I think it's really relevant here, is if you can really believe that you can't miss the right thing, then when things don't work out, you're not that upset.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, must not have been the right thing. I thought it was. It seemed like it on the surface, but it must not have been, because if it was, it would have worked out.
Yeah.
Then the angst just like melts away when you trust in that.
I'll also leave an episode for you that we did. Oh, I can't remember when this was. This has to be, I'm literally in that phase where it could be a year ago or it could be 2 years ago. But it was it was a normal person interview with Tianka Shepard. I will go back and link to that in the show notes so that you can see when we did that. I mentioned this one because she was looking for a dream job for years before it happened. And how did she have patience and how did she cultivate trust? I think that you need to hear that. But here's what I relate to you so much on this level in other ways. And so what I want to say is the best possible thing you could do for yourself right now is stop paying attention to the fact that no one is hiring you. You are putting so much energy into the fact that no one is hiring me, no one is hiring me, no one is hiring me, that you are doing a bang up job of manifesting that outcome. Like, really solid work on manifesting not getting a job.
But I know that this is going to frustrate her because the way she wrote that message is she understands manifestation. Oh, she's visualizing.
Sure.
She's doing all of that work.
Intellectually, she understands it.
Yep.
But she's trying to create it with her brain. She's like energetically, she's not actually. This is if we're talking, for the woo-woo people out there, if you're talking law of attraction, the universe doesn't give a crap about your words and your visualizations if the underlying energy is opposite.
Yeah, if you're having a visualization of your ideal job, but the feeling is worry or anxiety or lack or impatience, that's what the universe is responding to.
Yep. They're not responding to you trying to, write your way or visualize your vision board your way into something if the energy coming at it is a little bit tainted.
Yeah. And I'm all about visioning, and I think that's really important. But just check in with where you're at mentally and emotionally before you do that. If you're like, this feels really good, and I want to visualize something that is not so specific.
Yes.
Start a little bit more broad, a little bit vaguer. Like, I want to just imagine being in this kind of setting or doing this kind of interesting work or these kind of cool people that I'm working with.
Yes.
Instead of it having to be a particular thing. And that visualization feels good, do it. If you feel it creating some anxiety, just stop. Just go do something else.
I want you to take your, personally, I want to go back to what I was saying. I want you to take your energy off of this for a little while because you have churned yourself into a lot of frustration and you're a little bit stuck in the mud right now and you're not going to get anywhere by churning your wheels even more. You're just going to get more stuck. So here's what that could look like. This is just the thought that came to my mind when I first read your question, and I'm going to share it because who knows, it could be an intuitive download or it could just be something someone else needs to hear. Maybe you need to be the one who's not looking for a job. Maybe someone else needs to be looking for a job for you. Maybe it's time to get a recruiter in there. Maybe someone who's more of an expert than you, who you can sit down with and you can say, here's what I want, here's what I'm looking for, here's what I care about. And they can be like, great, let me go do that legwork for you. And then you can go drink a margarita, or you can take a bike ride, or you can go to yoga, or you can read a book, and you cannot think about your problem for a while. That is what you need. You need to not think about this for a little while, because when you don't think about it, you release your death grip on it. All of a sudden, it's like imagine you have a death grip on a hose. The water is not getting through because you are backing it up because you have a death grip around this hose. If we relax the hand, the water can flow. Relaxing means I'm not going to look at this anymore because when I look at it, my little claw hand starts to clench around that. And I can't even control it. It just clenches around that damn hose. And then I look at it and I'm like, God damn it, I'm clenching it again. So don't look at it for a little while.
I know this takes some trust because it seems like if I stop paying attention, all the opportunities are going to dry up. I'm going to miss out on things, which is why I think it'll be easy. You don't need to outsource this, honestly, if you just stopped paying attention. The water would start flowing.
The universe would outsource it for you.
Exactly. But I think it might help you release your grip to outsource this to someone else and be able to
someone
trust
else doing the work for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Somebody else is on it.
I think somebody else needs to be on it. Whether it's the universe is on it, maybe the universe is my recruiter. That's fine. I'm just going to take my grip off of this for a little while and see what happens. If you don't like that, if you feel like that doesn't allow you to take the death grip off quite enough, then I think getting a real person in there.
Yeah, a recruiter can be your recruiter.
A recruiter can also be your recruiter. I will also link to the episode. We've had a couple episodes with recruiters over the years, so I will link to both of those too. So that's 3 episodes I have to remember to put in the show notes. I got it. We're good. Rachel, it's going to be okay.
We love you.
You're going to get a job.
Help.
I know it's going to work out. It just might not be on your timeline. From one frustrated, ranty Rachel to another, I know that's the last thing that you want to hear.
It's not going to be on your timeline. It's never on your timeline because your timeline was yesterday.
Yeah, right. Your timeline was probably 3 weeks ago when you wrote me this, when you wrote us this email. So
but it will happen.
Okay, let us know what you think about that. I hope that this was a mix of tough love and also humor and
just real love too.
Yeah, but tough love is real love. Excuse me, type 9. Get your stank out of here.
My fellow type 9s feel me right now.
Tough love is real love. Yeah, I know. You don't have to tell me that. Okay. Question number 2 and final question from Elise. I would love a Krachel take on this. My friend, I'm like, Elise, is your friend you? But okay. My friend.
I know this person. I think it's actually a friend.
Okay, but I thought it was funnier if it was, she was like, I don't want to admit
for a friend.
Yeah, exactly. My friend has this theory that the more self-aware and higher EQ you have, the more you almost realize how much people suck. I admit, this is a very cynical point of view, but I can't help but slightly understand what she's saying. The more awareness I have, the more I look at coworkers or people in the news, and I'm like, why? I do believe that when we get on a higher level, we attract people on that same frequency, which is how you make a social circle that aligns with your values and mentality. But how do you deal with it at work or out there in the wider world where you're bound to come into contact with them? Does this make sense, Elise?
Yes, Elise, this definitely makes sense. This is something that I think all people who are committed to their own self-awareness experience. At some point, I think this is just a part of the game because as you upgrade your self-awareness, your consciousness, your understanding of how things really work. The contrast between...
unwashed masses?
Yeah, exactly, right? The contrast between where you were, and honestly where like most of people are, and what you now understand feels bigger. And it is bigger because you have just widened that gap. And it's easy to look around and be like, nobody gets what I get, because I recognize this. I have been
Does
there.
Elise have any type 4 in her Enneagram?
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
That's a good question.
Yeah. The difference between me and other people is much greater when you're a type 4.
I don't know that that's true, but,
Just curious.
maybe I'll ask.
Okay.
Not at the very top. So anyway, I just want to say this is normal. This is This is not just a you
This used to
thing.
be the bane of my existence. Not just as a type 4, but just as a person who was struggling with, oh my God, I hate that I am like aware and that these people aren't. And
Nobody
it's
gets
so annoying that these people are like, why can't they just like get woke or something?
And it's annoying to look at them struggling and making their lives harder. And you're like, what are you doing?
You don't need to do that.
It doesn't have to be this hard.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It doesn't really trigger me that much anymore. And I think it's partially because you can curate kind of a circle around you of people where you don't have to interact with a bunch of really unconscious people if you don't want to. But I do understand that sometimes you have to work with people who are annoying to you or who are not as conscious as you wish they were. Or you're going to like come in contact with, masses of unconscious people out in the world. And then how do you not get so triggered by those people? Okay, so one big thought is that, yes, the more self-aware you are and the more, higher your emotional intelligence, the more this can piss you off. But the higher your emotional intelligence, the more empathy you can also have. The way that I see it is that I don't find people nearly as triggering as I used to find them, because I have a lot more understanding, and being a coach has really helped me with this, of why people are the way they are. And I think about them as kids. And often a lot of people who are unconscious are just kind of trapped in their childhood patterns, and they're literally frozen in a sort of emotionally stunted place in life. And I have a lot of empathy for people who never got to grow or evolve, or who are too scared to grow or evolve because they don't even realize it's possible, or they maybe have an inkling, but they're afraid their family won't love them, or they're afraid of what they'll discover about themselves that's maybe not very pretty if they look. And
or they were just never exposed. They don't even understand what's possible.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think what happens as you grow in your own awareness of like the possibilities and understanding kind of how things work, and seeing other people struggle and make things harder, you can come at it from judgment or curiosity. And there's a fine line between the two, because in both you're observing and you're having a reaction. But in one case, you're like, why don't you get this? What are you doing? Huh? And in the other case, you're like, wow, I wonder what's going on with that person. I wonder where they came from. And there's just this non-judgmental curiosity that I can tell you from working with a lot of people, if you go back far enough, everything makes sense.
Yeah, this is not the first time we've said that, but it's relevant here again.
It is, because people's behaviors, people's worldviews and mindsets and reactions to things all make sense when you understand where they came from. And so curiosity is an interesting way of kind of zooming out of the situation, not getting personally triggered, and just asking some questions.
Also remember, not also the first time I've said this, but it's not your job to decide what someone else's life journey is. And if their whole life is going to be spent in unconsciousness, it's not your job to wake them up. You're not a martyr. You're not here to do that work.
This is hard, though. Sometimes you just want to shake them up, especially if they're like people in your circle, if it's family or acquaintances or friends of friends.
Here's the thing. It's never going to be you that wakes the person up. It's going to be something that happens in their life to them.
Is that annoying?
That wakes them up. Yeah, but it's
you have to just wait for it, and it might never happen.
I mean,
but
you hear this all the time when you hear interviews like with addicts. They're like, my family tried to wake me up over and over and over again, and I was not ready to change until I decided to change. And so that also can lessen your frustration, because sometimes the reason you're triggered by unconscious people is because you feel like you should be able to change them,
or fix them or, help them in some way. And you relinquishing responsibility for that will ease your mind and be like, you know what? That person is on their own path and it's not my business to decide what their life is supposed to look like. Who am I to say that this might not be the exact life curriculum they signed up for? Mm-hmm. What are they learning that I can't discern? You got to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Maybe they're getting some benefit from this, even if you can't see why.
Maybe they need to be unconscious up until a certain point in their life because being unconscious until the age of 50 is the thing that triggers a massive mountain of self-awareness down the road. Maybe they had to have all of those experiences to get to a place that you can't yet perceive.
And maybe they need to hit a rock bottom before they can do that too. They might have to go down a really hard spiral before they recognize something's got to change.
Not everyone's going to be self-aware. Not everyone's going to be conscious. That's okay. To be honest, I know that you're probably paying attention to all of the negative parts about that, but there are some positives about that too. Because if everyone was self-aware and conscious, some things in life would stop working and stop moving and stop progressing. There are people who just maybe the value is that they're not thinking so hard about that every day and they're just clocking in and clocking out and they're doing a job that keeps the world spinning. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's okay that not everyone is super highly sensitive and is thinking about this all of the time and is super focused on this.
Yeah, I was just saying this is a lot to do with highly sensitive.
Of course.
We need people who are not so deeply reacting to everything and thinking hard about everything. That would be exhausting if that were all of us. And that's okay.
So Elise and Elise's friend. I hope there is an Elise's friend and that the Elise shares it with her friend.
Yeah, they could have an interesting discussion.
Have a follow-up conversation about this together. I know it's hard, but it's the life that you signed up for, by the way. And being a conscious person in a world of often unconscious people makes you a leader. And so it's not your job to tell people what to do. It's your job to set an example and hope other people might be inspired by that and follow.
And if not, that's okay too.
Yep. Some people will. A lot of people won't. And that is okay. So that's that on Dear Krachel for June. We will be back. Actually, no, strike that from the record. I'm going to keep this in, but strike it from the record. We will not be back on Tuesday because we are taking a little break because we have been podcasting every day, twice a week. Not every day, but it feels like every day. So we're going to go back to doing every other Tuesdays. So we are not going to be
But we'll still be with you every Friday, so we will see you again next Friday.
For a normal person interview.
Oh, yeah.
With one of my most interesting, cool, one of the best kind of stories in terms of where he started and where he ended up, clients I've ever worked with. And he is just like the definition of a fire starter. And he's so confident. And he just tells you what's what. And he has a lot of, even though it's a normal person interview, of course, he came in with a lot of great advice about, no, if you want to get a job, this is what you do. And he gave me ideas about job searching I had literally never thought of. It's about that and a lot more, but I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation.
I can't wait. I've been wanting to hear you talk to him for a while.
So come back on Friday with a new normal person interview.
Okay, we'll see you then.